Ever notice how some women can walk away from a solid relationship and seem completely convinced they made the right call? They'll tell you and themselves all kinds of stories about why it had to end, why you weren't enough, why they needed something different, why leaving was the only option. But here's what most men don't realize. Those stories, they're not the truth. They're lies. Not malicious ones necessarily, but lies nonetheless. Lies women tell themselves to justify a decision they're not entirely sure about. And over time, those lies start to crumble. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the 4 most common lies women tell themselves after leaving a good man. Not because I want to bash women, that's not the point, but because understanding this pattern will help you see that when she left, it wasn't about your inadequacy, it was about her inability to recognize what she had. Some of this might sound familiar, some of it might give you clarity you didn't know you needed. Either way, by the end, you'll understand the psychology behind her decision better than she probably does herself. Before we get into it, let me ask you something simple. If this topic resonates with you, comment truth. If it doesn't, comment pass. I read every comment and it helps me know what's landing with you. And if you're finding value here, hit that like button and subscribe. It's a small thing, but it helps more men find these conversations when they need them most. All right, let's get into it. Lie number 1. I can find someone better. Here's the first lie, and it's probably the most common one. I can find someone better. She convinces herself that you were good, sure, but not great, that there's someone out there who'll give her everything you gave her, plus more excitement, more passion, more of whatever she thinks is missing. And for a while, this lie feels true, because the moment she steps back into the dating world, she gets attention, lots of it. Messages, matches, dates, men who seem interested, who seem exciting, who seem like they might be exactly what she was looking for. But here's what happens next, and this is where the research gets interesting. According to a study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, people who leave long-term relationships often experience what's called choice overload. They think having more options means they'll find something better, but in reality, more options just make them more anxious and less satisfied. Translation, she thinks she upgraded, but she's actually drowning in mediocrity. Because here's the truth most women don't realize until it's too late. Better looking doesn't mean better. More exciting doesn't mean more reliable. More spontaneous doesn't mean more committed. The guys who come after you might have qualities you didn't have, sure, but they also lack qualities you had in abundance, like consistency, like emotional stability, like actually giving a damn about her well-being beyond the first 3 months. And slowly, sometimes over weeks, sometimes over months, she starts to notice. The new guy doesn't text back as quickly as you did. He doesn't remember the little things. He's not as thoughtful. He's not as present. He's fun, maybe, but he's not safe. And safety, it turns out, is something she didn't know she needed until she didn't have it anymore. This is the lie that crumbles fastest, because reality doesn't care about her narrative. Reality shows her, date after date, that better is a lot harder to find than she thought. And when she finally realizes that, the regret starts to set in. Lie number 2, he wasn't that special anyway. The second lie is even more insidious. He wasn't that special anyway. This is the lie she tells herself to minimize what she's losing, because if you weren't that great to begin with, then leaving you isn't that big of a deal, right? So she starts rewriting history. She tells herself and maybe her friends that you were boring, that you didn't challenge her, that the relationship was fine but not amazing. She downplays the good times and magnifies the bad. She convinces herself that what you had was average at best. But here's where psychology comes in. According to research from the University of Virginia, people engage in something called choice post-rationalization. After making a major decision, they subconsciously distort their memories to make that decision feel justified. In other words, she's not remembering the relationship as it actually was. She's remembering it as she needs it to have been in order to feel okay about leaving. And this works for a while. But then something happens. She goes out, she dates, she explores, and for a while it's exciting. New faces, new conversations, new possibilities. But eventually the novelty wears off, the excitement fades, and she's left with the same person she was before, except now she's alone, really alone. And the finding herself she thought she'd do, it doesn't happen, because growth doesn't come from running away from good things. It comes from building on them. She thought she needed freedom, but what she actually needed was the partnership she already had. And by the time she realizes that, you're already gone. If you're still with me, drop a 1 in the comments right now. And now we get to the biggest lie of all, the one that costs her the most. This is the lie that allows her to leave without fear, because in the back of her mind, she's convinced that you'll wait, that you'll still be available if things don't work out, that you'll come back whenever she's ready, and you'll welcome her with open arms. It's a safety net, a fallback plan, and it makes leaving feel less risky. But here's the truth she didn't account for. Good men don't wait around. You're not a backup option, you're not a plan B, and once she walks away, once she makes it clear that you're not enough for her right now, you do what any self-respecting man does. You move on. Not out of spite, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. And this is the moment when the lie shatters completely. Because she thought leaving was a reversible decision. She thought she could step away, explore, experiment, and then come back if she wanted to. But she didn't realize that walking away from a good man isn't like pausing a video. It's like closing a door, and that door doesn't always open again. According to data from relationship forums and studies on reconciliation, most men who are left by a partner they treated well do not take them back, even when the woman returns. Not because they're cruel, but because they've moved forward. They've rebuilt. They've recognized their worth, and they're not interested in being someone's second choice. So when she finally reaches out, whether it's weeks, months, or even years later, she discovers something she didn't expect. You're different now. You're not the same man who would have done anything to make it work. You're not waiting by the phone. You're not hoping she'll come back. You've moved on, and she missed her window. This is the lie that haunts women the most, because it's the one they can't undo. She thought you'd always be there, but you're not. And that's her loss to carry. So let's bring this all together. When a woman leaves a good man, she tells herself stories to make the decision easier. She tells herself she can find someone better. She tells herself you weren't that special. She tells herself she needs to be alone to grow. And she tells herself you'll always be there if she changes her mind. But over time, reality dismantles every single one of those lies. She realizes better doesn't exist the way she thought it did. She realizes you were more special than she gave her credit for. She realizes being alone didn't lead to the growth she expected. And she realizes you're not waiting anymore. And that's when the regret sets in. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet, persistent ache that she can't shake. But here's what I want you to understand, and this is important. Her lies were never about you. They were about her inability to see what she had, about her lack of readiness to appreciate a good man when she had one. You didn't fail. You didn't fall short. You weren't the problem. She just wasn't ready for what you were offering, and that's not something you can fix or control. So if you've been the good man in this situation, if you've been left by someone who convinced herself you weren't enough, I need you to hear this clearly. You were enough. You are enough. And the fact that she couldn't see it doesn't diminish your value one bit. It just means she wasn't the right person to receive it. And here's the beautiful part. The right person won't need to tell herself lies to justify being with you. She'll see your value immediately. She'll recognize what she has, and she'll hold on to it. Because good men aren't common, and smart women know that. So don't waste another second questioning yourself. Don't replay conversations trying to figure out what you did wrong. Don't wonder if you should have been different. You were exactly who you needed to be, and someone out there is looking for exactly that. What's the biggest lie you've heard from someone who left? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely like to hear your experiences. And if this resonated with you, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe. There's more of this kind of content coming. Real talk, no sugarcoating, just truth. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next one.